Hello, and welcome to What's New in Onshape for Education. My name is Peter Zink, and I'm delighted to be here today. If you have any questions during this talk, please post them in the moderated Q&A. I'm going to talk about some of the education enhancements, competitions, and awards from 2021, as well as upcoming events, partner app releases, and a sneak peek of what we hope to see coming soon in Onshape for Education. Before coming to PTC, I was a faculty member at Boston University in mechanical engineering for over 8 years, where I focused on engineering design, manufacturing, and automation, and taught a CAD course using PTC Creo. Today, I lead the PTC Education Engagement Team, and I'm really proud to be part of the education team at PTC. We have a great team, and together we have well over 100 years of experience teaching and developing education content for K-12 and university students. And I'm delighted to be able to represent them here today to talk about the exciting and new features and enhancements to Onshape for Education. Even if you're an avid Onshape fan, you might not know that Onshape is the #1 fastest growing system in the CAD market. It's being adopted 10 times faster than the average CAD tool, and there are over 2 million Onshape users today, and there are thousands more every week. Whether or not you've used Onshape before, it's important to understand that it's fundamentally different from any other CAD software. Onshape is a true cloud-native platform, and like Google Docs and other cloud-native platforms, this enables real-time collaboration and cloud sharing, all on a cutting-edge professional CAD modeling platform. We see this combination of technologies as game-changing for the future of STEM education. The best part about Onshape, and the reason I started using it when I was teaching, is that it's free for students and educators at both the K-12 and university level. It only takes seconds to create a free EDU account at onshape.com/edu, and you get started modeling right away on any device. Because it's cloud native, it runs in the browser. There's nothing to download or install, and no licensing required. Beyond the free plan, there's also an enterprise plan for larger implementations. The enterprise plan includes features such as single sign-on and privacy and security management, as well as data analytics that allow teachers to see exactly what students are working on, who they're working with, and how long they've been working. Educators can go to onshape.com/educators to learn more about the enterprise plan and to reach out to our customer success team to learn more. I also want to take a moment today to recognize our valuable partners. We work with curriculum developers, professional organizations, student competitions, and technology providers to help ensure that the Onshape education community has the resources and support they need to be successful learning and teaching with Onshape. Please reach out to us and let us know if you'd like to learn more about any of these important partners. Now I'll talk about some of the Onshape education enhancements from 2021. Most of these updates originate from feedback we received from students and teachers. Incidentally, there were 17 Onshape updates in 2021, about one every 3 weeks. And these updates are seamless. They happen for every user automatically. You never need to call your IT department or anyone else to update Onshape. Every user is always on the latest version. Many of you know how valuable the Onshape Learning Center is. If you haven't used it already, please check it out. You can find the button that takes you there in the top right-hand corner of the Onshape interface in your browser. Because of the unique and different way that mobile devices and desktop computers work, for example, mobile devices have touch-sensitive screens, some aspects of Onshape work differently on a mobile device. This year, we added a new course to the Learning Center called Onshape on an iOS mobile device that helps users learn how to take advantage of those mobile-specific features to efficiently use Onshape on an iOS device. So those of you who use these devices in your classroom may find this really helpful for you and your students. For users who prefer to work in a language besides English, we added the ability to experience Onshape in 3 new languages this year: French, Spanish, and Italian. These are in addition to German, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Lastly, for the education enterprise users out there, we updated some of the administrative tools to enable improved bulk user and global permissions management. If you want to help us make Onshape even better, please join us in the Onshape forum and post your ideas for improvements. We read all of them, and the issues that come up the most and get the most votes are the ones we'll prioritize when we get to work improving Onshape. We'll share a link in the chat that you can use to vote on existing improvement requests. Now I'll show some of the new content and curricular resources we've created for our Onshape educators. I've already mentioned the Onshape Learning Center, and besides the mobile course I mentioned, we've created a number of other courses and a full introductory CAD curriculum. There's a course specifically designed to help introduce users to the Education Enterprise Edition, a course that helps teachers learn how to take advantage of the unique cloud-native aspects of Onshape in their classrooms, and an associate level certification course designed for your introductory CAD students. There's a lot more, too much for me to cover here, but there's a whole session immediately after this one where these topics will be covered in detail. I'll just mention one more now. We partner with the ITEEA, the International Technology and Engineering Educators Association. They're an organization devoted to improving STEM education in K-12 schools. And we helped them create an industry certification pathway called Onshape Engineering by Design. It was just released in February 2022 and includes the ITEEA curriculum for teachers to use in their classroom. The curriculum takes students from a novice level to an associate certification readiness, covering all topics on the Onshape Certified Associate exam, and includes other helpful resources for the classroom. We'll share a link to an article about this curriculum in the chat. The ITEEA also offers 3 different professional learning opportunities for educators, including a semester-long professional learning experience, the ability to become an authorized trainer, and the option to host a targeted virtual 1 to 4 day engineering by design workshop for you and your school district. You can find more information about these opportunities in the Onshape Learning Center. Next, I'll recap our 2021 competitions and awards. In 2021, we partnered with several organizations to produce events such as the Craft to Design Thinking Hackathon. This virtual event was an opportunity for K-12 teams to participate in a global design thinking challenge organized by the TIDE Technology, Innovation, Design, and Entrepreneurship team at the International School in the Hanover region of Germany. The goal of the challenge was to empower students to reimagine the world and demonstrate their design skills by applying out-of-the-box design thinking to create innovative and sustainable product design solutions to address United Nations Sustainability Development Goal, Global Goal number 3, good health and well-being. We also organized the Onshape Design Competition. Teams and individual contestants from 20 countries entered the first ever Onshape Design Competition in March of 2021, focusing on a quirky remote work challenge where contestants were prompted to creatively use a box of spare parts they might have found to reimagine and design their home office setup. In total, 200 CAD users, including a mix of professional engineers, educators, students, and makers participated in the competition and brought more than 20,000 hours of combined Onshape experience to the table. There were 48 team submissions and 32 individual entries. First place winners each received a $500 Amazon gift card, vouchers for the Onshape certification exam, Onshape swag, and an exclusive Onshape design competition championship belt. In November of 2021, we launched the Onshape Education Speed Modeling Challenge. In this challenge, students and teachers' Onshape skills were put to the test by giving everyone the same engineering drawings of an assembly and seeing who could model it the fastest. We were amazed by the diversity of modeling techniques utilized as well as the overall speed of the participants. The average time was just 8 minutes and 55 seconds. In total, over 1,700 copies of our starting document were made by more than 600 individuals that ultimately resulted in 152 submissions from more than 15 countries. The first place winner had a blazingly fast time of 2 minutes and 44 seconds and won a 3D printer for that impressive achievement. We really enjoy seeing and getting to see the amazing work and dedication that educators put in on behalf of their students. And after seeing the incredible demands placed on teachers in the 2020 and 2021 school year, as a team, PTC Education decided to formally recognize and award champion educators with the first ever Onshape Educator Award. It was humbling to read through these nominations from students and to witness the profound impact these educators had on them. We'll share a link in the chat to a blog article and a video describing the work of these incredible individuals, and we'll be launching another set of awards this spring. Next up is a preview of a few of the 2022 events we're helping to organize for the Onshape education community. We have seen Onshape usage in the FIRST robotics community grow tremendously over the last year, with some polls indicating that Onshape is now the most used CAD platform in FIRST. The FIRST community has been creating and sharing Onshape resources using the public documents feature, and teams in both the FRC and FTC programs developed part libraries that are leveraged by over 20,000 Onshape users. Since many teams were unable to view the field in person this year, we took extra care to ensure they had access to the fields in Onshape. This also provided teams with a chance to utilize Onshape to see how their robot could interact with specific field elements. This year, we also formed a new partnership with Science Olympiad as the official sponsor of their Write It, CAD It event. In this clever design communication challenge, one student was given an image of an assembly, while another student was given a set of parts, CAD parts. The first student was asked to write instructions for the second, and then the second student had 20 minutes to assemble the CAD parts using only those written instructions. Our team created webinars, tutorials, and practice models to help participants learn about CAD and be successful with this fun and educational event. We are also excited to share that we recently partnered with the REC Foundation to host a virtual VEX robotics competition. This virtual competition will kick off on March 21st and run through April 29th, and is open to students across the globe at any grade level. Throughout the event, we will be sharing webinars, tutorials, and parts libraries to ensure that each team is set up for success. And a link to more information can be shared in the chat. Over the course of 2021, several partner apps were released in Onshape. If you're not already familiar with the Onshape App Store, it's a central repository of apps created by Onshape partners, which enable engineering tasks that go beyond the typical CAD design and documentation where Onshape really shines. If you need advanced simulation, subtractive manufacturing, advanced PLM, or just about any other solution, this should be the first place you go. We are very excited to share a few applications that have been particularly useful for the Onshape education community. Onscale Solve is a cloud engineering simulation platform that combines massively scalable multiphysics and cloud supercomputing to enable easy-to-use workflows for advanced CAD-based simulation. A SaaS business model with simple pay-as-you-go pricing for simulation enables easy Onshape integration for you and your students. Next, Phi is a new type of surface modeler for Onshape users that allows quick and easy interactive modeling of surfaces without sacrificing precision and quality. Phi is quickly becoming the tool of choice for Onshape users in need of advanced surfacing techniques. Based on direct modeling concepts, Phi allows users to manipulate basic primitives to easily create organic designs. And a link where you can register for education will be shared in the chat. With AR Base, you can unlock the power of augmented reality in your CAD workflow. So AR Base allows users to instantly create, edit, and share augmented reality models from Onshape part studios and assemblies. The app provides a unique link and QR code for each model, making it easy to share and view your models on a mobile device through the AR Base in-browser augmented reality viewer. This means that friends and teammates can see a digital version of your model in the real world, using their smartphone just in seconds. It's easy and fun and a great way to do virtual testing of design ideas. Lastly, the MKCAD library app was developed by members of the first robotics competition community. It adds hundreds of parts that teams frequently use for their robots, including wheels, sensors, bearings, motors, gearboxes, and more. As one reviewer said, this app makes it 100 times easier to develop robots in Onshape. Finally, I'm excited to be able to share a small sneak peek of a couple new items that the Onshape development team is working on adding to Onshape. To be clear, we can't make any promises as to when these features may be available to the education community. Onshape employs an agile product development process, which means some improvements to Onshape occur every 3 weeks, but others may happen later as we continue the process of rigorously testing updates to ensure that they work seamlessly and provide you and your students the opportunity to focus on learning and education instead of struggling with software that may not quite work. It's critically important to us that everyone has a positive and productive experience with Onshape every day. PCB Studio in Onshape will enable students to assemble printed circuit boards along with their mechanical designs. This feature will enable electrical mechanical design collaboration natively within Onshape. Though it's not a PCB authoring or editing environment, students will be able to seamlessly go back and forth between any ECAD system and their mechanical design in Onshape to ensure everything will fit and work together. If you're interested in learning more, there's a session happening right now called Onshape Extensions, PCB Studio and Frames. And you can watch the recording. It will be available after this event concludes. As a result of feedback and input from dozens of educators, we're developing what we call classes and assignments functionality for the Education Enterprise Edition to give educators a way to easily group students into classes, to make documents available to those classes, assign work to those classes, and track submissions and work by individual students. We'll make sure that this functionality complements existing LMS systems so that this doesn't create more work for educators, but just helps to make organizing classes and assignments in Onshape easier. While we can't promise when these things are coming, our hope is that we will be able to share these new features with the Onshape education community soon. Thank you all for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you continue to enjoy using Onshape as much as I do. If there are any questions from the moderated Q&A section, I'll be happy to answer them now.
Yeah, Peter, we had a couple questions here. The first one being, are there new languages available for the Learning Center video courses?
That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but we can look and get back to this person offline. I don't remember which videos might have multiple languages available.
Great. The second question that we have in the thread, and want to encourage people to submit more within the moderated Q&A if they have questions, is, are there cosmetic threads in the Part Studio and external simplified threads in drawings?
That's another good question. I believe the answer to the first part is yes. And I don't know the answer to the second part. We'll have to look it up again, but these are good detailed questions. I appreciate being asked. And if there's a way for us to find out the email address of this person, we can get back to them with that.
Yeah, great. So the individuals that ask those questions, feel free to put your email into the chat and I can follow up. You can put that in the moderated Q&A to keep it private, and we will certainly follow up with your questions.
Great, thank you. Any more, Justin?
I'll take a look once more here. Yes. What is the suggested learning path for a new Onshape user, such as a high school CAD student?
Good question. So in the Learning Center, the Onshape Learning Center, there's a few different options. There is an intro to CAD learning pathway, which covers the basics of what CAD is, what parametric design is, how to make a sketch and a drawing, or a sketch and use a part studio and create an assembly. There's also an introduction to Onshape specifically. So if the student might have had an introduction to another CAD platform, and you're looking to just introduce them at this point to Onshape, there's a different pathway for that. But probably the introduction to CAD pathway would be a shorter, the sort of short form way to get them the very basics. If you're looking for a more comprehensive introduction to CAD that you could use in a classroom in high school, we have an entire introduction to CAD curriculum. And again, the session right after this one will cover a lot of these courses. So if you're interested in learning more, you can attend that session, and they'll talk specifically about some of the differences between the courses and learning pathways in the Onshape Learning Center for Education.
Great. Where can I go to see what features have been added to Onshape?
That's a good one. There's an Onshape forum which you can access from a drop-down menu in the top right-hand corner of the Onshape interface. And in the Onshape forum, there's a section called New Updates, I think is New in Updates. On the right side, you'll see it. And if you click that, it will there'll be a link. There's a forum topic for each update that comes out throughout the year that will show there's usually a nice video or a GIF showing how the different functions and updates work, and a little discussion, and you can click to learn more there.
Great. So I think we touched on this, but just to make sure we verify for those that maybe have just joined, where can we find the curriculum resources?
Yeah, that's a great question, just to clarify. So in the Onshape Learning Center, there is, under the learning pathways, you'll find one for educators. There will be an educator pathway, and in there you can find the new Introduction to CAD curriculum. So it should be pretty clear in there if you look for education or educators.
Great. Are the classes and assignments limited to the education enterprise, or can anyone use these?
At the moment, our intention is to limit the availability of that functionality to the education enterprise edition. But if you have feedback or input in that regard, we'd love to hear it, and we'll certainly always love to hear from educators who have a different use case that we should consider. So please let us know if you think there's a different way we should be thinking about it.
They're starting to roll in now, Peter.
Okay, great.
So will the classroom, which I think they mean the classes and assignments feature, be able to interact with Google Classroom?
Our intention is to make sure that we don't create any duplicate effort for educators. As a former CAD teacher myself, you know, I can empathize, and I would not want to make it so that an educator would have to, for example, put in a due date in 2 places or something like that. So our hope would be to make sure that it can interact with the most common LMS platforms. But I can't specifically today say whether or not it will work with Google Classroom, but we certainly will endeavor to make it as flexible and as possible.
Great. Is Onshape integrated with some 3D printing solution?
So what I use Onshape to create models that I'm going to 3D print, it's very easy to export an STL file of your model. So right in Onshape, when you're looking at a part in a part studio or an assembly, you can right click on that part or set of parts and choose export. And you can export them in many formats, including STL, which is most commonly, as the asker probably knows, for 3D printing. So it's very easy at that point to take that STL and import it into your favorite post-processing slicer. So whether it's Cura or Prusa, etc. And so then from that point, you can create your toolpaths. And so that's what I do when I'm using Onshape with a 3D printer, is I just export an STL. And I think that's an easy workflow for most users.
Great. And one that I knew we were hopefully going to be getting today is, will the Render Studio become available to all educators soon?
That's a good question. It's one we've heard before, of course, and we've heard loud and clear. And of course, we would love to bring render functionality to the education community. We understand how important that is. At the moment, the render capability is available on a limited basis to a few commercial users while we learn more about how it works and performs. And we certainly hope we'll be able to bring it to the education community, but at the moment it is not available. But we are with you in spirit, though I can't promise if and when it's coming.
Great. I'll open it up just for another minute or so, and we'll see if we have any more come in.
Great. Thanks, Justin.
So one question kind of related to some of the learning paths. So as someone new to Onshape learns about some of those beginning paths, are there places for best practices for more advanced stages?
Absolutely. So beyond the introductory CAD learning pathways that you can find in the Learning Center, you can search for just about any topic in Onshape there. So whether it's top-down design, data management, advanced surfacing, and etc. There's a really powerful search in the Learning Center where you can find videos, webinars, other courses, and other learning materials for all kinds of advanced CAD topics for Onshape. It's a good question. It's a great resource and a really powerful way to, whether you're a new user to Onshape or more advanced, to spend time in there is a good way to increase your skills and comfort with Onshape.
Great. So do customers need to pay for Onshape applications?
It's a good question. My understanding is all of the Onshape partner applications in the App Store are required to have some kind of free offering. Some of them are completely free, and some of them have a paid offer as well. But for example, there is a KeyShot connection. So if you really need to render something tomorrow, you could use that, and it has a free 2-week free trial. So, if I were an educator looking to use Render with my students for this semester, you could leverage that, and each of your students could use it for free for 2 weeks. And that would be one way to do that, for example. So some of them you eventually have to pay, and the prices vary. Some of them have pay per hour, depending on what the service is. If it's a SaaS business model and they have a pay-as-you-go, others are flat rates or fixed depending on the level of service and performance you're looking for. So it really depends on the specific app, but they all have some free option so that you can try the software.
Great. Well, it looks like things have slowed. So that may be it for questions today, Peter, but appreciate it and super excited for what's to come.
All right. Thank you, Justin. And thanks everyone for your time again and for attending. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.